On a gray Friday morning, June 12, 2009, a man stepped onto a bus in Derry, Londonderry, Northern Ireland. He blended seamlessly into the crowd with his black shoulder bag and an unremarkable luggage bag. To any casual observer, he appeared as ordinary as the journey itself. But there was something about his demeanor, a quiet precision, a peculiar detachment. By the time he arrived in Sligo, Ireland around 6:30 p.m., the man who called himself Peter Bergmann had already begun to write the first lines of one of the most perplexing mysteries of modern times. At the hotel where he disembarked from a taxi, Peter Bergmann, if that was indeed his name, paid in cash for a 3-night stay. He gave an address in Vienna, Austria, Einstedtersen, 4472 Vienna. Yet like everything else about him, this detail was a fabrication. The address didn't exist. The staff noted his Germanic appearance, his heavily accented English, and his habit of chain smoking outside the hotel. He was courteous but distant, his interactions perfunctory, the hallmark of a man who wished to be forgotten. During his stay, Peter was a man of restless motion. CCTV cameras captured him leaving the hotel at least 13 times, each time carrying a purple plastic bag filled with unknown items. When he returned, the bag was always empty. Authorities later speculated that he was methodically discarding his belongings, scattering them across Sligo. Yet no trace of these discarded items was ever found. Not a single piece of evidence, no scrap of paper, no clue as to his past or purpose. What made the footage even more unnerving was his deliberate avoidance of certain cameras. He moved with the precision of someone intimately familiar with surveillance systems, evading them with ease. This was no hapless tourist. This was a man on a mission, one that required the erasure of his own existence. Hotel staff recalled an unsettling moment when a cleaner knocked on his door. There was no response, and upon entering they found Peter startled, as though caught in the act of something he had hoped to conceal. What that might have been, no one could say. The room was ordinary, devoid of anything personal. The only constant was Peter himself, a man whose presence seemed to make the ordinary uncanny. On Saturday morning, June 13, Peter visited the post office at 10:49 a.m. He purchased 8 stamps and airmail stickers. To whom these were intended, or if they were ever used, remains an unanswered question. He carried on his day with the same quiet purpose, leaving no trail but his shadow. Sunday, June 14, began like any other. Around 11 a.m. Peter left the hotel and hailed a taxi. He asked the driver for advice on a good beach for swimming. The driver suggested Ross's Point, a serene and windswept stretch of sand, where the sea met the horizon in an endless gray expanse. Upon arrival, Peter stepped out, surveyed the landscape, and nodded in quiet approval before returning to the taxi. By Monday, June 15, Peter's demeanor had shifted. He checked out of the hotel at 1 p.m., but something was different. The luggage bag he now carried was not the one he had arrived with. What became of his original bag is another thread in the tapestry of mystery he wove. He walked to the Quayside shopping center, lingering in the doorway, as if waiting for someone or something. At 1:16 p.m., he entered the bus station cafe, ordered a ham and cheese toastie with a cappuccino, and sat alone. Those who saw him recalled a peculiar act. He repeatedly opened a small scrap of paper, read it intently, and then tore it into pieces. The fragments were discarded in a bin and lost forever, their secrets unrecoverable. At 2:20 p.m., Peter boarded a bus bound for Ross's Point Beach. Over the next 8 hours, witnesses saw him pacing the shoreline, his movements restless, his expression anxious. As the evening deepened, he became a solitary figure against the darkening sky. By 11:50 p.m., he was last seen walking along the beach alone with the night. The next morning, June 16, the quiet of Ross's Point Beach was shattered by a grim discovery. A father and son practicing for a triathlon found Peter's lifeless body near the water's edge. His attire was baffling: purple Speedo swimming trunks with his underwear worn over them, and a navy t-shirt tucked into the waistband. Nearby, some of his belongings were scattered: shower gel, deodorant, and a small amount of cash. Missing were his black shoulder bag and the ubiquitous purple plastic bag he had carried so often. The autopsy revealed that Peter had not drowned. Instead, he had succumbed to cardiac arrest. Yet the findings only deepened the mystery. Peter was suffering from advanced prostate cancer, bone tumors, and ischemic heart disease. His conditions would have caused him unbearable pain, yet there were no painkillers or medications in his system. How he endured such agony remains unknown. There were no signs of foul play, no struggle, no external injuries. He had simply ceased. Investigators worked tirelessly to uncover the man's identity. The name Peter Bergmann was a lie, as was the Austrian address he had provided. His belongings, meticulously disposed of, left no trace. His face was run through countless databases of missing persons across Europe, America, and beyond. Not a single match was found. No family, no friends, no one stepped forward to claim him. He was a ghost, a man without a past. The most chilling detail came from the forensic examination of his clothes. The labels had been meticulously cut out. Every marker of origin, every clue that might have led to his identity had been erased. Peter Bergmann had planned for this. He had come to Sligo not to live, but to vanish. To this day, the case of Peter Bergmann defies explanation. Who was he? Why did he choose Sligo as the stage for his final act? Some speculate he was a spy erasing his trail to protect state secrets. Others believe he was a terminally ill man seeking to end his life on his own terms, free from the intrusion of others. There are even those who suggest he was fleeing a past too painful to bear, seeking solace in the anonymity of death. Yet for all the theories, no answers have emerged. The purple plastic bag, the scraps of paper, the stamps from the post office, all remain tantalizing pieces of a puzzle that refuses to be solved. The man known as Peter Bergmann lies in an unmarked grave in Sligo, his secrets buried with him. The story of Peter Bergmann haunts those who hear it, a reminder of how little we may truly know about the lives of others. He came, he stayed, he vanished. In his wake he left a trail of questions without answers, a shadow cast over the ordinary streets of Sligo. Who was Peter Bergmann? Was he a man running toward redemption or fleeing damnation? Did he seek freedom in oblivion? Or was his death part of a plan known only to him? The sands of Ross's Point Beach hold no answers. Only the whispers of the waves and the silence of a man who vanished into mystery.